Hi everyone. So today, in response to the alleged poisoning of Sergei Skripal in Salisbury in the UK a few weeks ago, Donald Trump has decided to expel 60 Russian diplomats from the US and close the Russian consulate in Seattle. Along with this, 14 EU member states, another 14 apart from the UK, have said that they're going to expel Russian diplomats too, and I believe Canada has. Now, this is going to take the number of Russian diplomats that have been expelled from Western countries in the last few weeks to over 120, which will be the largest collective expulsion of Russian intelligence officers in history. Nothing bigger than that collectively. Russia, of course, have promised they're going to respond. This is from the Russian ministry. The Russian side, despite our repeated requests to London, has no information over the case. There's no objective and exhaustive data on it at the disposal of Britain's allies, who blindly follow the principles of the Euro-Atlantic unity, harming common sense, principles of civilised dialogue between states and international law. Naturally, such a hostile move on part of this group of countries won't go unanswered. So this is going to be tit for tat. If 120 diplomats, and it's probably going to be more, but if 120 are expelled, Russia will expel 120 diplomats as well, meaning the lines of communication are going to be fragmented. Even though all of this is happening right now, we still have no evidence whatsoever that Putin or Russia were behind the poisoning of Sergei Skripal. I did a video of it, the link's up there, about a week or two ago. And there's still no evidence at all that Russia were behind it. And not only that, if you actually look at it and you think about it, there's no reason why Putin would have done it. There's no reason why. You know, as far as I know, no spy who has ever been part of a spy swap deal has ever been assassinated by Russia before. The guy apparently has been living openly in the UK under his own name for 8 years. So why would Putin do it in the face of all this stuff from the US media, the Western media, saying that he colluded with Trump to win the election? There's no evidence whatsoever of that, of course. So why would he do it to give them even more ammunition against him? Especially when it happened just before the election. Yeah, okay, it's a rigged election, but so. And 100 days before the biggest sporting event on the planet is being held in Russia, the World Cup. The only thing we've heard is politician after politician after politician coming out and saying the nerve agent that was used on Sergei Skripal was of a type made or developed in the Soviet Union, or similar to that has been developed in Russia. That's not evidence. That wouldn't even make it to trial in a court of law. It's not even circumstantial, for Christ's sake. It's not even saying, okay, a Russian guy was in the same area. That's circumstantial. This is just throwing shit at a wall. Still no evidence whatsoever that Russia were behind it or Putin ordered it. None at all. It's just, he was a Russian spy, he was poisoned, must have been Russia. That's just the most ridiculous fucking statement I've heard, well, in about 2 days, the way the news is at the moment. So we've seen no evidence that Russia was behind this, right? And at the same time, all of this is happening. You've got the United States arming right-wing fascist factions in Ukraine, which is on Russia's border, and which is in an extremely tense situation with Russia right now. You've got Trump increasing US and NATO forces on Russia's borders as well, expanding NATO ever eastward towards Russia, further than the line of the Berlin Wall, which we specifically told Gorbachev and Russia that that would not happen, yet it's just carried on for decades. And are on opposite sides of a war in Syria, a hot war in Syria. So this is worrying, especially if you combine that with the fact that in the last week, you got John Bolton, who is a maniac, an absolute verified maniac, who still thinks the Iraq war was a success and was done for the right reasons. A guy who would fucking invade Narnia and say, yes, let's bomb Narnia if somebody suggested it to him. He's become national security advisor, so he's the first one now in Trump's ear. You got Mike Pompeo, who thinks torture was a great idea, even though the evidence says we got no real leads from the torture of these prisoners after 9/11 at all. He still thinks that torture was a great idea. So he's been appointed or nominated for Secretary of Defense. And then you've got Gina Haspel, who oversaw the torture of the individuals at these CIA black sites in the 2000s. She oversaw it. In some cases, even participated in the torture of these individuals. And then destroyed the video evidence, or helped or oversaw the destroying of the video evidence of that torturing happening, has now been nominated for the head of the CIA. This has all happened in the last, 5 days. And during all of this happening, and us getting ever closer to World War III, what are the media talking about? Stormy fucking Daniels.
Everyone in Washington and probably around the country is talking about this interview last night where adult film actress Stormy Daniels told 60 Minutes she had a one-time affair with now President Trump.
I want to get your take on the legal battle brewing here in light of Stormy Daniels' 60 Minutes interview.
What does Stormy Daniels want?
He's a lawyer representing Stormy Daniels. Michael, thanks so much for being back with us. A couple of questions that weren't answered last night.
Here's Joy Reid quoting Charles M. Blow. Can I just say once again, if that Stormy Daniels interview had been about Obama, it would have been over, and every black man would have been deemed so depraved that no other would ever be president again. This is what they're talking about today on Twitter. Jake Tapper, the fact that more people are not shocked that such threats are allegedly being made by Trump associates is further evidence of how degraded our culture has become with him in the White House. There's no evidence at all that the guy who threatened Stormy Daniels was a Trump associate. It could have just been a fucking nutcase Trump supporter. Jake Tapper doesn't frame it that way, though. And he's meant to be one of the good journalists on CNN. Here's Joy Reid again. Ivanka Trump claimed in an interview that it was inappropriate to ask her daughter to react to her father's alleged infidelity. But she's not just a daughter, she's an administration official. It's entirely fair to ask her. This is what they're talking about. While all this is going on, this is what they're talking about. Matthew Chapman, who I assume is something to do with MSNBC because I did that. Trump is now such deep legal trouble that his lawyers are hiring lawyers. Over Stormy Daniels again. And then there's this. This is what CNN are talking about today. The fact that Trump briefly, at some point this morning, followed CNN and then unfollowed them. This is what they're talking about. They'll mention it once in a tweet that the diplomats have been gone. I say, oh yeah, the diplomats have gone. Or one segment an hour, diplomats have gone. And the rest of the hour is taken up by Stormy Daniels and people talking about that. Caitlin Johnson recently did a great article in which she said, in which she said that the world is one false flag away from World War III at this very moment. And you know what really scares me about that? It's not the fact that she's absolutely 100% correct. What scares me is that this Sergei Skripal poisoning was the false flag that's going to start World War III. That's what scares me. And it should scare you too. The cable media, not just the cable media, Washington Post and the New York Times. I mean, Charles M. Blow's from the New York Times he writes for, I believe. They are useless. They're complicit with this. Mockingbird never ended. It never ended. All that changed is they stopped paying them. That's all that changed. They just, we ended Mockingbird in 76, they say, or whatever year it was. No, we ended that in... No, it's just become tit for tat. That's all it is. Don't say anything bad about us or do the reporting, and then we'll give you some leaks and some juicy stuff. That's all it is. It's tit for tat between them. They're complicit in it. They must be. There's no other explanation for why they would be reporting on Stormy fucking Daniels while all this is going on. Please subscribe. Please like the video and hit the bell. I'm going to go off and watch some videos about puppies. Something to cheer me up, because this is just pissing me off. Till next time, peace and take care.